They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 253 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. We got Constance Sherrod checking in from Pearl, Mississippi. Mona Obamolak is in Orlando, Florida. We got Yolanda McKinney. Mona said happy Ramadan month as well. We got Yolanda McKinney down in Texas. We got the good doctor, Rachel Edoweke in Maryland. She's doing big things too. Y'all better go to Facebook and Instagram and follow her. Rachel Edoweke. You see her name on the YouTube side. But make sure you follow her. She's been on with me twice. She'll be on with me again the third time, I think, in the spring. But check her out. We got Takesha High in the building in Virginia. Grace Castaneda in Kyle, Texas. Nadira Coley is where you at? Oh, Newark, of course. Newark, New Jersey. Robin Snowden, Harambe, Fresno, California. Let me see what she said here. Let's press forward. And in spite of what's going on in the world, I'm getting ready to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I know. Sherry Jones, Missouri, Texas. Missouri City, Texas. Rodney Richardson in Hampton, Virginia. Ronald Pugh, Cedar Hill, Texas. Lysandra Brackens. Hey, Ronald Pugh, were you in at TABC this year? I forgot to send in my paperwork, man. So I didn't make it there this year. I'll be there next year. Lysandra Brackens, North Carolina. Marsha Poe is in San Diego. It says up early, joining from the baseball field this morning. I hear that. I wish we had baseball field weather here right now. It's getting a little nicer though, but you know it's only the beginning of March. We still got cold days ahead of us. Agnes Alabua, I know I messed up your name, but I met Principal Agnes yesterday in Cleveland, at Cleveland State University. She's in Ohio. Good to see ya. Vanessa Zeskin is in the building down in, I should say, over in Connecticut. Maybe up, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, up in Connecticut. Chancellor Davis, Las Vegas, Nevada. LaKenya Rowland, Jersey in the building. AP Patrick Lawrence, Connecticut. Let me see. I'm trying, y'all. I'm messing up. Alara, I don't know. Dance school. It's in California. I got to work on that one, man. Baratanat Yan. I'm sorry. But it's a dance school in California. They checking in, baby. We got John Hurix in Denton, Texas. MPA Jaguar on the treadmill. That's Josh Tovar. He's in the building. Hey, speaking of Josh Tovar, make sure that y'all check him out every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Eastern. It's typically hard for me because I'm on an airplane. But 7 o'clock Eastern, Josh Tovar, Dr. Marty Moreno, PDP podcast, Sean Hurt every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, followed by Create and Educate, 10:30. Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor, all of that is Facebook. Make sure you get with us, the Fantastic Four. I'm almost done, y'all, because I came on a little late. We got Justin McMillan in the building. He said, love the new book, man. Hey, man, we can ready to talk about that too, man. I appreciate that, Justin. I appreciate all the muscle that you have put behind it as well. That's very much appreciated. We got Dr. Sheikah Houston in the building, South Carolina. Coach Central Texas. Annette McMahon is in Aurora, Illinois. Man, I ain't been to Aurora in a long time, man. The last time I was invited to speak in Aurora, I was still a principal, and that was, I left my principalship in 2011, so that was over 14 years ago. Hey, Aurora, get me back in Aurora, man. It's been a while. Dot McKeever Jeter is in the building. I should say principal, retired principal Dot McKeever Jeter in the building. I appreciate you always, Principal McKeever Jeter, all the muscle you put behind all of us in terms of these platforms. Melissa Jones-Chunu in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tony McClenny is in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I see the queen of the castle, Kimberly Broughton-Kafele, is in the building. I think I'm going to end it right there. Yeah, I see all of y'all. I see y'all. But I gotta get it going, man, because we got a lot to talk about on this first day of Women's History Month. So let me say to everybody formally, good. I don't like the way that sounds. Let's do that over. Good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 253 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Hey, y'all, let me ask you that question, man. Every week, same question. How you feeling? I'm gonna bring it down on this one too. I'm not gonna turn this into a monologue because I have a monologue, but I'm gonna say this to you. I'm feeling real good, right? I'm feeling good because I'm on this platform right now with you. You know, this is my thing, right? Every week I spent a whole week preparing for my guests, man. It's like I added a whole new job when I started this six years ago, and but that's okay. You know, we get it done on the airplanes. And either that or sleep, so I work, right? We get it done. So I'm feeling good. Just, you know, the fact that, you know, the week I had all that kind of stuff. But there's another part of me that's not good. I'm not going to get political. I don't do that on here. At least I try not to. But I got to tell you something. When I'm in those hotels, I live in hotels. When I'm in those hotel rooms, it is my norm to turn on a basketball game during the basketball season. That's my norm. Right, in the summer, if I could tolerate the teams in that market for baseball, I'll watch that. If I could tolerate the teams, I can't watch every team, right? Football on Thursday night, Sunday, Monday, right? I'm watching football. But you know something, man? I'm finding myself watching cable news all night long. Like if I get to the hotel early, like 8 o'clock is really early for me. You know, midnight is more normal. But if I get to the hotel like 8 o'clock, I'm watching cable news. I'm watching all them channels too. I'm not just watching one, right? I want to hear what they're saying from the different sides of the aisle. So I'm watching this stuff. It's the same broadcast each hour with a different host. And I'm sitting there locked into this. That's not healthy. That is not mentally healthy. But I'm doing it anyway, right? Because I want to know what I was going to say something that wasn't appropriate. It was going to reflect the name on my jersey, actually. So I won't do that. And for those of you that don't know what I'm wearing, no, it doesn't reflect where I thought I was getting ready to go. It reflects a Negro League baseball team. As you know, that's what I rock on Saturdays every week. The Indianapolis Clowns. This is the jersey that Hank Aaron wore before he was in the major leagues. He played in the Negro Leagues, and this is who he played for, the Indianapolis Clowns. So I got to know what this person, right? Because I don't want somebody accusing me of being inappropriate on here. What this person is doing, what he's saying, right? We're talking about the president. What are you doing today? Like every day is something new. What are you saying today? What are you doing today? Right? So I feel a need to stay abreast. So my life is shifting. My emotions are shifting. My mental is shifting. So my recreation is shifting because I should be watching basketball. I'm trying to watch the Celtics last night and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm going back and forth between the game that I was looking forward to watching and cable news. Then I'm watching the Laker game after that in the Clippers, and I'm going back and forth. That's not what I do. I don't watch cable news. But I'm finding myself having to watch it, right? So I'm giving you that in the context of my question, how you feeling, right? So for those who our current state of affairs is impacting you adversely, then I'm gonna tell you to do what I'm not doing. Step away from it as best you can, right? Because what's more important is your day job. Because we got leaders on here. Your day job, what you do in that building every day, and your preparation away from the building. That matters. Let me go to my announcements, y'all. Continued thoughts and prayers to, again, I'm going to keep saying it, the fam out there that was impacted by the wildfires in California, right? The fam out there, meaning the AP and New Principals Academy fam, but also just the general public out there that was impacted by it. That was devastating. Whole sections of cities just decimated, right? So I just wanted thoughts and prayers to all of them impacted. Shout out to Alexandria City Schools Aspiring Leaders Academy. I'm with them long term, and just every time I go there and spend a day with them, talking leadership, man, it just warms my soul. So shout out to them. I hope that you all are on, or we'll see the video later. Alexandria City Schools Aspiring Leaders. Educational Service Center, Region 13. Leaders in Austin, Texas. Shout out to you, man. We had a great time on the other day, whatever day that was. We had a great time. So shout out to you, and shout out to yesterday, man. Breakthrough Schools in Cleveland, Ohio. Oh my God. I said that those of you who are regulars on here, you've heard me say many times that close I do, and I say, I am the number one determined. I said I was never going to ever do that again, because it's no longer good health wise, right? It used to be, but as I'm getting older, you kind of like feel something like you're getting ready to have a stroke or something, right? I shouldn't be playing with that, but I said I'm never going to do it again because I feel something. But yesterday, man, I had this audience, man, in Cleveland. Oh my God, they were rocking with me, man. I said I gotta close this thing right. I went into my I am. I did the whole thing with passion. What I didn't do it twice, because I normally would do it 2 times. Yeah, there go my mother. Hey, Ma, yeah, man. My mother said, no. My mother usually doesn't comment on here. I know, Ma. I'm going to call you when I'm done, too. I had to. Ma, I had to, man. They were rocking with me. I was like, the number one determinant. I went off, man. All right, y'all, let me keep going. So Ma, I'll call you in a little while. Hopefully nobody recorded it, right? And you see it online. It was probably the most powerful I've ever done it. I put the mic down to do it. It was like 1,000 people in the room. I put the mic down and used my regular voice. Oh my God, I had to sit down when I was finished. Hey, welcome to the first timers. If this is your first, my wife put one of these emojis up. All right, y'all, listen. Because she's another one on me about that, man. Stop doing that, right? So, listen, y'all. Welcome to the first timers. But those of you who are first timers, that means you missed 252 sessions, right? So you want to go to the AP New Principals Academy YouTube channel and binge watch. Like when you're getting ready to watch them shows you watch on TV, some of them reality shows, like Catch Yourself, right? So I don't need to watch this. I need to watch the AP and New Principal Academy and see what I missed out on. So make sure you do that. Hit the subscribe button while you're there, though. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join me in July 15 and 16 in Raleigh, North Carolina for the annual Principal Kafele School Leadership Academy, right? Institute. Join me in Raleigh, North Carolina, 2 days. We ain't doing nothing but talking instructional leadership for 2 days, right? So you go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to where you see the section on the School Leadership Academy, click the link. It'll take you to Eventbrite. Register. You get a free copy of What is My Value instructionally to the teachers I supervise. It comes with the registration. And if you're one of the first 50, maybe we already got 50. I haven't talked to my partner in this, but you get this as well, the Principal 50. So join me in Raleigh, 2 big days, July 15 and 16. It's going to be live, man. Make sure you register. I want to see you in the building, right? Let's go. This Wednesday, whatever March 4th is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Wednesday. Whatever March 4th is, I'm doing a webinar for ASCD, a free webinar, ASCD. Guess what the topic is? What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? So just go to my Facebook page at Principal Kafele, or my LinkedIn page at Principal Kafele, or my X page at Principal Kafele, or my Instagram page at Principal Kafele, and you will see the advertisement, right? Register, go there, click the link, register, and then join me March 4th live for this webinar that's sponsored by ASCD ISTE. And if you can't make it live, then they'll have the recording up the next day, right? So I want to see you in the building. Register today, right? Get it done, get it out the way. Don't say to yourself, oh, I want to be a part of that. It's at 1 o'clock Eastern. So they always do theirs during the school day. But, you know, a lot of administrators, what they do is they let the team know, I'm going to be in my office watching this, so y'all do what you do, right? So whatever it is, be there. That's March 4th at 1 o'clock Eastern. Speaking of the book, here it is. If you don't have your copy, get your copy. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Get your copy. Get your copy. You go to Amazon right now. You go to ASCD right now, ascd.org right now. Get your copy. This is the most important book I've ever written. It is the most important topic that I talk about as far as leadership. Instructional leadership. It's where the rubber meets the road. What could be more important, right, than to ensure that teachers are teaching at the highest possible levels so that youngsters are learning? What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Get yourself a copy. I'm ready for my monologue, y'all. Here we go. I told my guests I might take a couple extra minutes, man. But I got to get this in. My topic today for my monologue is stay focused, stay locked in, stay the course. Once again, stay focused, stay locked in, stay the course. What am I saying? I want to give you this example that I want you to transfer over to what you do as leaders, right? I don't want to give you a leadership example on this. I want to go somewhere based on a post I wrote yesterday. Back in 1990, I was a newlywed. I got married in 89. So 90, I'm still a newlywed. And I was a brand new father of a son who's now 34 and sitting right here. And my heroes had become, because in undergrad school, just reading so much African-American history, my heroes in life became, these wasn't what they were, became activists, leaders, educators, speakers, including motivational speakers, and authors. These were my heroes in life. So I started doing the things that my heroes were doing. I became a speaker at a very young age. I became a leader in terms of being on the school level. But in this case, in terms of my monologue, I became an author. So I wrote this book with this black and white cover called A Black Parent's Handbook to Educating Your Children Outside the Classroom, 74 pages. Why is the cover look this way, black and white, that type of thing? Because that's all I could afford. I was unemployed. I was Mr. Mom during the year my son was born. I did not work. I didn't work for 3 years because after that I didn't work for 2 years because after that year, then I spent, well, let me go in sequence. So I wrote this book every time, whenever he was asleep, I wrote. So all day, every day, I wrote. I never wrote a book in my life. Never wrote anything in my life. So he would go to sleep and I'd write, and it became this. But I didn't have any money to no publisher would touch it because I'm unknown. No, I had no money to self-publish it. So I had to go to family and beg. I got money, found a print shop in Newark, New Jersey, and they printed 100 copies for me. We sold them in like a day. So then they printed another 100 copies. We sold them again in like a day. So then I said, okay, I'm on to something. My job became, once we found a sitter for my son after that year, my job became getting up in the morning and going out and hustle this book. And I'm using that word deliberately, hustle this book. So I'm on the New York City subways, man, going into different boroughs, and I'm hustling my book. I'm up in Harlem on 125th Street and selling this book to literally every vendor on 125th Street before the man by the name of Rudy Giuliani got rid of the vendors in New York City. All them black vendors up on 125th Street, right? Y'all didn't know that part about him. You know about the part with the president, but you don't know there's some local stuff you don't know about him. So got rid of all them vendors, but all those vendors were selling this book. Then and simultaneously, you had all these black bookstores all over the country, right? It was a season of black literature. It's like a second black renaissance, right? In the 80s and 90s. So you had over 1,000 bookstores that were owned by black people that sold black authored books. So that was a natural resource for me. So we moving these books into those stores, all of them. And then there were about 3 wholesalers, black wholesalers, that were pushing the books out to the black retailers. So with that being said, between me hustling around New York City and New Jersey selling these books, and Philadelphia, and then the network of Black bookstores, the book over time became the Essence magazine. This little 74-page book. Eventually we put color on it eventually, but this is the first edition. It became the Essence magazine #1 bestseller. Imagine that. Some unknown author, some 5-year high school student, right? Some unknown author who has an idea, writing a book based on his success in college as graduating summa cum laude. I said, I can take that and transfer it to parents to help them to be effective in what they do as parent educators of their children. That's what this book was comprised of. So all that hustle, remember my topic, stay focused, stay focused, stay locked in, stay the course. So all that hustle made this into a bestseller, and quite frankly, we sold, I didn't write this in the post because I forgot, we sold about 70,000 of these. Yeah, I said 70,000 copies of this book because of that grind. Before I went back into the classroom as a teacher in 1990, we had already sold 50,000. That's in like a year, because I was on that grind. About 2 years, I'm exaggerating. About 2 years. Then I go back into the classroom, so sales slow because I'm a one-man operation. But I'm saying to you, somebody, my situation, my analogy here is being an author. You're a leader. You're an educator. And I'm saying to you, this hustle was not easy. I'm a newlywed. I'm a young father, but I'm trying to build a career. I'm trying to establish myself as an author through this book. So I gotta balance all this stuff out. Father, husband, right? Even son, and then career, and then the specificity within the career. I gotta make this thing work, because this is what my heroes do, right? All these authors that I love, all these authors you saw me posting throughout the month of February, I want to do what they do. So that's what this was. So then I go back and teach, and I'm working my butt off. I ain't going to get into all that. Then I go into being a principal. I'm working my butt off. But guess what? During that time, I'm still writing. Let me say it again. Stay focused. Stay locked in. Stay the course. But while I'm teaching, while I'm being a principal, I'm still writing. So now we get to 2025. I've written 15 books, but 14 published, because I got one sitting right in this computer that I haven't given the publisher yet, right? So all that writing, because despite the challenges of principal leadership, despite the challenges of teaching in a classroom, despite the challenges of parenting, despite the challenges, I don't want to say marriage was a challenge, but it's a thing. I'm still getting it done because I stayed focused. I stayed locked in. I stayed the course. And I'm saying to somebody out there in this monologue this morning, you've got to stay focused despite the mess that's in your life, or that you encounter every day that comes your way. You got to keep your focus. You have got to stay locked in. Of course, you're going to encounter mess. There's mess all around you. Some of it's personal mess, it's in your life, and some of it's external to you, such as that stuff I watch on cable news, right? And then everything in between. All that mess is around you. But are you locked into your goals? Are you locked into your dream? Are you locked into your purpose? Are you locked into your passion? See, you got to stay focused on that. But when you focus on this, and you focused on that, and you focused on that, and you focused on that, you miss it, man. You ain't giving the energy that you need to be giving to that thing that you said you want to do, that thing that you said you want to be, because you ain't focused. You got to stay focused. You got to stay locked in. You got to stay the course. You cannot be distracted. You cannot allow your dream to be compromised. So if you're so in your case as leader, then it's not just being the leader, it's being the best version of yourself, right? Because this ain't no competition. You're not competing against other people. You're competing against yourself. You want to make sure that when you walk into that building, that you are focused, that you are locked in, that you are staying the course, that I'm going to be the best version of me. I'm going to be the best version of myself as leader of this school, as assistant principal in this school, as teacher in that classroom, as counselor in that classroom. Whatever it is that you do, you're going to be locked in. You're going to be focused, and you're going to stay the course. If people are talking about you, you block out that noise. If people don't have confidence in you, you block out that noise, right? If people are if there's situations where you're not getting the job and other people are, well, I'm gonna remind you of something I said on this platform many times. There are opportunities in other places. I did not stay in the same district for my career. Because see, there's another when I do my monologue next week, because I plan these in advance. Next week, we're gonna talk about your brand image and your brand identity. And see, when your image, your brand identity, I should say, and your brand image don't align, then you might be in the wrong place, right? So I'm saying to you, but we'll deal with that next week, right? Lock in, be with me next week. But I'm gonna cap this by saying this to you. Hey, somebody out there, you need to go here. You need to go to this mirror. And you need to have an earnest conversation with yourself. Because some of y'all out there, and I say this in a spirit of love, some of y'all out there, you got too many voices in your head. Some of y'all out there letting people live rent-free in your mind. They in here, rent-free. You got too many voices in your head. Yes, listen to others, particularly people with good sound advice, people who are mentors. But at the end of the day, you got to go here with yourself. You got to be able to make the right decisions. You got to be able to stand on your feet and make the right decisions for you. But you got to stay focused. You got to stay locked in. And you got to stay the course. That's my message today. I got 3 powerhouse guests coming up here, man. I told them I was going to go a little bit longer, man. You know, that my monologue, man, it matters to me. But here we go, man. Let me get them on up here. They here. We're going to change this background here. Give me a second, and I'm going to say good morning to y'all. Let me just get this background changed. Here we go. There we go. Hey, y'all, good morning to you. Thanks for your patience. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
All right. Hey, fam out there, I got these 3 young ladies on here. There's a lot to them. I want to share with you their bios. But before I do, and they sent me the short versions, y'all, so I ain't got to read all morning. But listen, do me a favor, y'all, to the fam out there, hit that share button, hit that retweet, hit that repost, tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, let them know we are here, we live. And we're talking Black women in education and leadership in terms of Black women voices. We got a lot to talk about here. So let somebody know. Don't hoard the information for yourself. Let somebody else know that we are here. We are live. We are ready to go. One of my guests. I've known her for a little bit, but in my mind, her name was pronounced one way, and I learned today it's pronounced a different way. And I'm struggling, and I didn't even say it yet. Right, Dr. Taryn. Let me do it. Dr. Taryn Givan. There we go. See, I to the fam out there, I had Javon. So like I think the past couple of years I had Javon in my head, right? So now it's hard to get that out when, so Dr. Taryn Givan is in her 24th year as an educator and has served 19 years in the P12 setting as a teacher, assistant principal, turnaround principal. Currently, she's the founder and CEO of Divergent Educational Consulting, LLC, and contractor operations manager for Better Lesson. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Arkansas, a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Texas A&M University, Texarkana, a principal certification in educational leadership from Stephen A. Austin State University, and a doctorate in higher education leadership from Clark Atlanta University, where Dr. Chika Akua was one of her professors. The good doctor, my man, Dr. Givan. There we go. Dr. Givan has received many honors and awards, including the 2020 tribute to African American women Award and 2022 feature on the Wall of Heroes mural in the downtown area of her hometown. In 2016, Dr. Givan created the Each One, Reach One educational scholarship in the amount of $500 and is given to the LE senior currently raised by a single parent or guardian and is registered to attend an accredited college or vocational school. To date, $6,000 has been awarded to 11 exemplary young men and women. In 2020, she organized the Texarkana Read Volutionary pop-up library, providing free multicultural books to all readers. To date, close to 600 books have been given away through 7 local events. She's a visionary and co-author of Centering Our Voices, which we're going to be talking about, The Brilliance, Persistence, and Significance of Black Women Educators, which serves as an extension of her dissertation research. Good stuff. Next, we got Dr. Affton Coleman. I pronounced that correctly, right?
Yes.
It's Dr. Coleman is a name synonymous. Hear this, y'all. Synonymous with resilience, dedication, and innovation. As an educator with 17 years of experience, Dr. Coleman has mastered inspiring young minds and teachers as the assistant principal at Yes Prep Southside Elementary in Houston, Texas. A staunch advocate for progressive education. She is a proud mother of 4 and a second mother to countless students whose lives she has touched. Born and raised in East St. Louis, Illinois, Dr. Coleman's journey is a testament to the transformative power of education. She was molded by the resilience, determination, and hard work of her great uncle, grandmother, and mother. Despite the challenges of her early life, she fondly recalls a childhood embedded with love, support, and a strong sense of community. The resilience of her family and neighbors shaped Dr. Coleman's worldview, teaching her the importance of perseverance, self-reliance, and the power of community. Dr. Coleman's philosophy of teaching and instructional leadership is rooted in empowerment and personal growth. She firmly believes that education extends beyond academic knowledge, nurturing students to become critical thinkers, compassionate individuals, and lifelong learners. Every student is unique with their strengths, challenges, and potential for growth. She explains her commitment to fostering positive relationships is built on trust, respect, and open communication, which resonates in her role as mentor, guide, and advocate for her teachers and students. And lastly, as a Black woman in the field of education, Dr. Coleman has navigated her share of obstacles, including systemic racism, bias, and stereotypes. However, she has not let these hurdles deter her. Instead, she has used them as a stepping stone, cultivating resilience, advocacy for equity, and continuously learning and growing. Strong stuff. We got one more, y'all. One more. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button. Let them know we are here. Tag somebody, hit them Facebook leadership groups, and let them know we here, we live. Here we go. Tyisha Jenkins, MED, is an educator, mentor, writer, prayer warrior, life and writing coach, and devoted mother to her son, Jordan. I got that right?
Jordan.
Jordan. Oh, got that right now. Jordan. If Jordan's watching, I apologize. Right. Tyisha has overcome many obstacles such as abuse, poverty, her parents' addiction to drugs and alcohol, challenges of single motherhood, losing her mother, brother, and father within a 9-year span. Tyisha is perseverance personified, a woman who has never given up on her goals and defies the odds of social norms. Tyisha lives by her father's mantra, education without application is merely information. Let's say that again. Education without application is merely information. She applies life lessons, good and bad, practical and theoretical, logical and irrational, to her journey of faith, strength, resilience, overcoming. Through Tyisha's authenticity and transparency, readers gain insight from a transformational, relational, inspirational woman. Tyisha is a proud graduate of Prairie View A&M University, earning a Bachelor of Science in Health and Human Performance and a Master of Education in Administration. Tyisha is a passionate servant leader who is currently impacting students' lives in her role as campus administrator. For over 20 years, she's dedicated her heart and services to students from diverse backgrounds, at-risk populations, students with learning disabilities, as well as highly gifted students. As a young teacher, Tyisha learned the value of developing relationships with and seeing her students for who they are and who they could become. Two key lessons in nurturing her special student-teacher relationships. For Tyisha, teaching with her heart is just as important as teaching curriculum, as she strongly believes in encouraging students to see themselves beyond their seats, realizing their potential to create the future they envision. Tyisha is also a former high school volleyball, basketball, and track and field coach. In these roles, she passionately coached countless student athletes while influencing young ladies to be mentally tough, hardworking, and confident. Powerful stuff, powerful bios, 3 powerful women on the call. Let's go, y'all. Let's jump into it. Hey, folks, one more time, hit the share button, hit the retweet, hit the repost, tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, let them know we are here, we are live. Don't just hoard the information for yourselves. Let them know that we got something to share for the world. Dr. Givan, you I want to throw a 2-parter at you. You spent 19 years setting 19 years in the P12 setting as a teacher, assistant principal, and I might say turnaround principal. What stands out for me is the fact that you were a turnaround principal, right? That's something very different from, say, just the principalship, because we're talking now what it implies is a school that was obviously challenged, could have been low scores, whatever it was, right? So I want you to talk to us about the challenges that you faced when you walked into that particular school, and what was it about your leadership that turned that school around, and hence the title Turnaround Principal?
Right. Excellent question. You're definitely on point when you say it is completely different than just speaking of the principalship in general. For me, being brought to that campus was a point of having some fresh eyes. But I think it was also rooted in the fact that they knew that I would not just see and turn a blind eye or turn my cheek at the things that I saw. They brought me in because she's going to address it. And I think having the integrity to be able to say, let me back up and preface by saying I did not get to see the campus in operation. So when I was brought in as a turnaround principal, the school year had ended. I came in during the summer. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get an opportunity to walk the halls and with the previous principal. I didn't get an opportunity to sit down with the leadership team. I was walking the halls that summer with no activity, with other people's perceptions of the issues and the things that needed to be changed, but I was not able to be in the moment to see those for myself. So you're coming in to sit down with your current leadership team and you're trying to get to the root cause. And so you have all of this data in front of you. The time is ticking because the new school year is about to start. All of these other decisions still need to be made. And you're just trying to get your feet wet. You're trying to understand the culture and the climate of the campus. And so for me, it wasn't initially about stepping in and making immediate changes. It was about, let me see how this campus operates, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't just be about me. Let me see what's already here. Mm-hmm. However, we also know that there are going to be some things that can impact the day-to-day that in that first year, you may have to say with the leadership team, we need to address this in order for things to be efficient or effective. So there's a lot that I can say, but I would say this. The campus that I served on proudly as a turnaround principal for 5 years, there was very low expectations of the students, very low expectations of the community. And I'm sitting in front of a sign that says, no one rises to low expectations by Les Brown. It's the reason why this is in my office, because it was actually in my office when I was a campus principal. This is something that I believed in, but that is exactly what I saw. You heard things of, the students can't do this. Well, we're not going to try this, to focus on student-centered agency because our students can't do this. So one of the biggest challenges I had was being able to sit people down and let's get to the root cause of why we feel this way about these students. And for a lot of people, you hold up the mirror, Principal Kafele, for a lot of individuals to be retrospective that way, to evaluate where this could be coming from and why you feel this way was very challenging. And no one had asked them to do that before. And it was a turning point because although there was a lot of want and focus on bringing the community in and getting all of this support, we had a lot of internal work that needed to be done. So it's just like in your home. You know, I can't worry about bringing people into my home if we're not on the same page internally. So we had to get on the same page, and we had to understand that it was okay for us to be collaborative and have these conversations, that some of the same voices who had been on that campus forever, not to be dismissive of them, but sometimes it was very hard for those same individuals to see what the true challenges were. And when you have these fresh voices and perspectives on the campus, for me, one of the biggest challenges was being an advocate, being intentional, being deliberate to hold those conversations. It would have been very easy for me to pass over that and just to move forward. But I needed for all of us to try to get to the root cause. For one, it was the low expectations of the students. And then we know how important that is when we talk about instructional leadership or that student agency in the classroom, and how that can impact the delivery and also what they're receiving. And there was a lot of lecture style, a lot of passive education happening. Our students were not at the forefront. They were not actively engaged in the classroom. And it took a moment for us to get there. It also meant that we had to wish some people well. And this was not their place. So we wanted them to go and find their happy place. Because if you were going to be there on that campus, you had to first truly believe that those students could, and that we weren't going to shift all of the blame over to our students. We had to take a look within and say, what are some things that we need to do differently in order to make sure that they can achieve? And so I'm happy to say that, yes, we did turn the campus around, but it did not come without its set of challenges day in and day out. But I also was allowed to have and to build a team of individuals who also had that same vision and passion and belief in those students. Because although, yes, as the leader on the campus, it was important for me to bring that every day. All of us on this call and all of us who are listening know you can't just do that alone.
Right. Good stuff. I got a follow-up for you, a quick one. With you being in that capacity as a principal, was there ever a reality that you became, anything that ever forced you to just come to the realization that not only am I the principal, but I am a Black woman principal? Were there situations, and you don't have to go in terms of specifics with that, but were there situations that just reminded you that I'm a Black woman principal as opposed to I'm the principal?
Absolutely. When I looked at my students, I was a reflection of the majority of the students on my campus. And so daily I walked in that. For some of my students to say that they had never, experienced being with a Black woman, especially in a leadership position, especially when I was in the classroom, I would have students, my first year teaching, a student would tell me I'd never had a Black teacher before. So then moving into a leadership position, and for students to look at you pretty much in awe as you're walking the campus and like, okay, this is someone who's actually being able to make the decisions. And I'll say this, they knew who I was as the principal, not just a name that's on the letters. It was important for me to be visible. But yes, there was a constant reminder every day that I was a Black woman principal in that building. But it was very important to me because my children, I was a representation of what they could be. But my students saw themselves in me. Family members saw themselves in me. The community saw themselves in me. The way I kind of move, my personal movements and the way that I talk and what I bring to the table is very much shaped, by my culture. And so that intersectionality of being Black and being a woman, it was there daily. It was a part of the challenges that I received from certain people on my team because I was a Black woman. So absolutely, it was there daily.
Appreciate you sharing that. Dr. Coleman, before I throw this question at you, let me say to the fam out there real quick, I keep saying hit the share button, etc. But what I've forgotten to say over the past couple of weeks now is hit that like button. We're in an algorithm world, so folks out there, make sure you're hitting that like button, even if you dislike it, like it anyway, right? hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. This is the world we live in now. right, is generated by algorithms, and that like button helps us to make sure that people are aware that it may need this. There's some youngster like young Principal Kafele out there in the world that's sitting in a classroom, and maybe the saving grace would be if my leader was on this platform listening to these guests that come on here every week, and then that young Principal Kafele could be rescued and then given the opportunity to maximize his or her potential, right? So let's go. Dr. Coleman, your bio states that your name is synonymous with resilience, dedication, and innovation. I want to look at all three separately. How does resilience speak to who Dr. Affton Coleman is?
Okay, so the first part of resilience with me is that I conquer anything, I go through anything. There have been my personal trials and tribulations that have attributed to where I am today, to be able to speak to how I was able to move professionally. My personal trials of learning how to become a young Black woman in different settings and what I wanted to be, and also being a young mother. And so within that adversity of, being a teen mom, when I started, I had to figure out what I needed to do for my children. Okay. And so that became the part of the resilience. And knowing that I needed to live and learn from my children, which brought me into education. My family came from being educators, and they told me that I would be an educator. I tried to shy away from it for the longest time. But when I saw that was the need and how I could actually support my children, as well as learn to support others, I knew that that was my calling and my purpose. So within that, and learning how to be resilient in the processes of learning how to be a mother and an educator, I trudged through the process of knowing what that's supposed to look like and how it could look like in impacting students and my children.
I love it. I love it. Let me go to that second one. How does dedication speak?
So, yes, dedication is definitely the part of being resilient, because every day is a new day. Every minute is a new minute. When you have students who do things that you may not even understand why, because they're coming with only things that they know from their personal home. So you have to accept them for where they are. So that also builds within the dedication of what you're supposed to have and the purpose of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it, because of the simple fact that they're giving you the best that they have. So with me being the person that I am, I have to be dedicated in them in regards to what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it, because of the simple fact that I'm not going to people didn't turn their back on me, and I'm not going to turn my back on them.
Yeah. People didn't turn their back on you, and you're not going to turn your back on them.
Not at all.
That matters. That matters.
Yes.
We could turn that one statement into the entire presentation. So I'm gonna catch myself, and as I said in the monologue, let me stay focused. Right. How does innovation speak to who Dr. Affton Coleman is?
Being different. Being who I am. I was a person, as I grew to be a mom and an educator, I saw that students like me needed to learn differently. And I saw that in 2013, 2014, before we had all the technology and everything, I was a teacher in a setting where I was already introducing the technology to our students, because I had students who were fighters, who didn't want to learn, who had so much adversity in regards to that. And it was because they needed to learn a different way. So within that process, I put different things in front of them to give them a platform, to give them the opportunity, to give them the space to be able to do that, going against the grain and being okay with it. Yes, did I get in trouble? Did I have, my principals looking at me like, no, you can't do those things. And I'm like, but why not? They're able to learn, they're able to grow, they're able to do the things that they need to do. And I've instilled that even in my own leadership with my teachers, that it's okay. We can do things differently, because this is what our students need. This is what our kids need, for them to academically perform in the manner we want them to, but also to take that same teaching and leave it outside of the classroom too.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm gonna keep going because we got so much here, but I got to follow up with you. Your bio indicates that you've navigated your fair share of obstacles. And I'm just right from the bio, including systemic racism, bias, and stereotypes. I don't need you to go into specificity of any of that unless you just want to, but speak to speak to what that means and how somebody on the other side of my camera could benefit from your response.
I've had different situations, sometimes with my own race and sometimes those with not in my own race. Within the different settings of how I got my doctorate degree, where I went to school, it was not in the same setting of being around those that look like me, but I was able to have that diversity of knowing that I could still be at the table with other people and still be able to be successful in that manner, no matter how many obstacles I came across. Also, even in education as an assistant principal, sitting at the table and saying, no, I don't agree, and why I don't agree, and here's the solution to that. So basically making sure that as a Black woman, I have to have 10 times the plan of what is going to happen to be able to speak to it, because of the simple fact that if I don't have a plan or I don't have an answer, then they'll look at me as not being able to be equitable in the manner of what I need to do.
You know, I want to stay right there for a minute. You said as a Black woman, you got to have 10 times the plan. I remember my grandmother used to say that to me. She said it a little bit differently. I'm not going to say it the way she said it on this platform, but she was saying the same thing to me when I was coming up, trying to make me understand that there's this thing out here that I didn't understand yet. I was too young, called racism, called oppression, right? But she's telling me, she's planting these seeds that therefore you got to do X, Y, and Z if you're going to be successful, right? So and here's one of my sisters in this business, Dr. Deetria Smith-Sneed, 10 times the plan. She's applauding that. I want you to talk to somebody out here that may be aspiring. This is still for you, Dr. Coleman. It may be aspiring or maybe in a rut, like when I talked about that stay focused. What do you mean? And this may sound elementary, like with me and you, but I know that there's someone out there that needs to hear this. What do you mean by that 10 times the plan, right? As this Black woman.
Right. So what I mean by that is that it's an everyday process. You know what your goal is. So you think about that goal with the end in mind of what you're wanting to do. And when you know what you want to do, you set forward a minimal and you focus and you make many steps in regards to your ultimate goal. And within that, you may have some adversity within that to where you're on the track to do what you got to do. And then something may get in the way. You got to have another plan for the plan that happened if you get stopped.
Yeah.
But you cannot allow it to stop you. When I was getting my doctorate degree, I will say so many times that I said, I quit. And I said, nope, even though I quit for about 5 minutes, let me pick up this computer, let me pick up this one, and let's get back to it. There were things, and I will say when I was in my doctorate program, I lost my entire home to the freeze in Houston, right in the middle of it. And I was not expecting it, didn't know what to happen. I was supposed to graduate that May, and I did. But 2 months before that, I have to defend my dissertation, but I don't have a home to stay in. Did I allow that to stop me? No. I had to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to get there, and what's going to happen, but also to keep my family safe. But I still had to stay on track for that plan. So you have to always make sure that you have an A, B, C, D, E, F, G plan, especially when you are a Black woman, because you just never know what will happen. Does it get hard? Yes. Will you have those trials and tribulations? Yes. But honestly, if you don't have them, you won't be able to appreciate it as much as you do when you do get it. Only God makes me be how I am today.
See, that's the part I wanted to hear, because you know, like what you did, like you think about my monologue, stay focused, stay locked in, stay the course, and now you gave it a face, right? Because you had justification for putting that dissertation on pause. You had it, but you stayed locked in. You stayed the course. You stayed focused. And that's the message that you're sending, and the message that I want to send to the folks out there, that when life gets in the way, but are you locked into this thing that you said, this must be done? And that just matters. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate the transparency and
Absolutely.
sharing that with us. Coach Jenkins. And folks, I'm calling Tyisha Jenkins coach because she was coach extraordinaire, and the youngsters start calling her coach. They call her mama too. I said, well, am I gonna call her Mama Jenkins or Coach Jenkins? I'll call her Coach Jenkins, right? So Coach Jenkins, let me quote your bio real quick. It says, Tyisha is perseverance personified, a woman who has never given up on her goals and defies the odds of social norms. My question to you, or my request of you, is talk to us about what you mean by defying the odds of social norms. What does that mean?
Well, for me personally, growing up in a time period where crack cocaine ruined a lot of Black families, communities. Both of my parents were addicted to crack cocaine all throughout my childhood. And it was a struggle for me and my family within our home. My parents were very strong people who, even through their addiction, managed to keep their family together, managed to be able to operate and provide for us within their addiction. But for me, just persevering, just being able to lock in, stay focused, and stay the course as a young girl, really not truly understanding how this addiction was impacting them mentally and emotionally, but keeping their children together. For me, education was my way out. My dad used to always say that education without application is merely information. And so for me, just taking that through, pushing through, because even when I graduated from high school, Principal Kafele, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a car. I wanted to get an apartment. And my mom said, how are you going to pay for all of that? And she was like, you need to go to school. And this is coming from a woman who has raised 6 children steady, through addiction. And she knew and instilled in me the importance of pursuing my education. And so just pushing through, going to college without much at all, and going through, graduating, becoming a single mom, and getting my master's degree, and just continuing to push, and just my heart always wanting to give back. Because the things that I did endure, the things that I did go without growing up, just being able to see beyond my situation now, that's what I really, really love to pour into children. So for me, just looking back on some of the things that I went through as a child truly made me who I am today. So when I work with kids, when I look at kids, I really try to see them beyond where they are. Because y'all know this day and age, we are, we're dealing with a lot with this generation. But for me, it was just truly holding on to the foundation of what my parents taught me, in wanting better for myself, and knowing that, yes, their choices and decisions in their adulthood didn't necessarily have to affect or impact where I wanted to go in life. So that was huge for me. Excuse me.
Yeah, define the odds of some of the norms right there within your own vicinity, right there within your own space. But here you are doing big things, and have been doing big things for a very long time. Let me give you a part B, which I also want to come right out of your bio. Your bio indicates that teaching with your heart is just as important as teaching curriculum. As you strongly believe in encouraging students to see themselves beyond their seats, realizing their potential to create the future they envision. Here's my question for you, because you're in a leadership capacity. As a coach, you were in a leadership capacity. And then as an assistant principal, you're in this leadership capacity. I want to take what you said about teaching from the heart, with your heart, and ask you, what might it mean? I know you didn't write about this, but I want to see what you say. What might it mean to lead with your heart?
So for me, leading with my heart means that sometimes I may have to close the door to my office and sit down with the student and look at them eye to eye and let them know that I don't have either one of my parents anymore. And that you still have your mom, maybe even your dad, and you have to make better choices for yourself and for them, really and truly. I tell them, I'm so transparent with my students, Principal Kafele. I tell them that they didn't get to see me as a whole woman. They didn't get to see me, be a principal. I think my mom passed my second year. I was in a year and a half as a teacher. She didn't get to see me be a coach. She didn't get to see me be a mom. So I close my door and I have those real talks, not just with my students, but also with parents, and truly understanding that your children are here to do the best they can. We have to provide this opportunity, this space for them to receive their education. But for me, I really, really take the time to have conversations with my kids from a heart space, even with my teachers. I just really try to be so true to who I am as a person, as an individual. It's so important for me to see everyone that I come across. Students passing by me in the hallway, I see them. Teachers that I encounter, I just make it a point to really try to show up fully and see everybody that I encounter, because of the experiences of loss that I've experienced. I don't ever want to pass by someone and not see them and then get an email about something, or somebody call and say this happened. I'm like, man, I don't remember that kid. I don't remember. I want to see everybody, and feel everybody, and want them to feel me to an extent. So I try to really reach out and touch, say good morning. You look I love your haircut. I notice those things on students and kids, and even with the adults. So for me, just making that impact and really showing up with my full heart every day. That's really important to me.
I love it. And this particular comment from Adrian Young, it hits so different when your parents who believed in you don't get to see you achieve. Stay strong. I always, and my mother who's on here, she's seen all 253 of these now live. And, we always have the conversation about my maternal grandmother, her mother. And too bad she didn't get to see me in my fullness, right? She certainly played a significant role in laying that foundation, but she didn't get to see Principal Kafele. So whatever that means, she didn't get to see that part. She saw Baruti Kafele, right? But she didn't really get to see Principal Kafele, and I wish she had an opportunity to see him. Now, one could say, but she does, and I get all that. But just in terms of us looking in each other's eyes, I wish she would have had an opportunity to see, because she saw my fullness, right? My from where I once was to where the impact that I guess I have made. Probably across this world over the past several years, So, but I want to stay with you for a little bit longer. You were a basketball coach, you're a track and field coach, you were a volleyball coach, and I think, if I'm wrong, correct me. I think you did that before you were assistant principal.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us this: how did you coaching, and I guess you were coaching girls?
Yes.
How did coaching girls, or just coaching, period, how did that inform who you became as leader of educators and leader of students?
Very similar in a sense. Just, you are an encourager. You are a motivator. You are someone that sees a problem and you're putting in strategy. You're putting in, opportunities for growth. Mistakes will be made. How do we overcome those mistakes? How do we correct them? How do we fix them? But really, as a coach, you have to study, your playbook. You have to know, what you're trying to communicate, what you want, what you need from your kids in order for them to grow. You set goals for them, for your students as well as your teachers. But I think for me, as a coach, it just kind of allowed me to truly be that cheerleader and champion for individuals in general, but definitely knowing, as a coach, you have some, freshmen come in. And you already as a coach can usually see them as a varsity athlete if you're going to definitely keep them around. And so I think that's, as a teacher, as a coach, and then as an administrator now, for me, seeing students again beyond their seats and their situations. For me, I can be talking to a young man in my office. I'm encouraging them, and I'm speaking to the person in their future. You know, I'm speaking to them, and I'm speaking to them from a point of view that you're not forever. You're not going to be this 14 and 15-year-old forever. I want you to start making decisions that's going to help propel you into the young man, the young woman that you're going to become. And so for me, that encourager, that motivator, that cheerleader, and that champion, you know, being a former athlete and being a coach, that's just my heart is always set on helping people or helping individuals get to the next level. That's so important.
You know, I love it. I'm getting ready to go to Dr. Givan, but I want to say this about two words you just used twice: cheerleader and champion. To the fam out there on the other side of my camera, I want to encourage you to do something. Take those two words, cheerleader, champion. If those are not a part of your normal lexicon, right? If they're not a part of your normal practice, I want to encourage you this morning. I want you to take ownership of those two words, right? Within your leadership, that you're not only the leader, but within your leadership, or under that umbrella of leadership, you are a cheerleader, right? You see, get all that authoritarian out of you if it's in you. You are a cheer leader. You are cheering people on. You know, that's that motivation. That's that inspiration. That's that empowerment that you are cheering folks on. Who are you cheering on? Students and staff, right? But then yet you are walking in as personifying that champion, right? How do we win if we don't bring a championship spirit? I'm not walking into a school with a mindset that we're gonna come in last place in the division. not me, right? I'm walking into that school not egotistical and cocky, but I'm going in there as that cheerleader. But I got a mentality. There's a winning mentality. There's a championship mentality. And I want to be able to instill that into everybody in the building with little wins toward that big win. So take that word, y'all. Own it. I think I just wrote a note to myself. I need to turn that into a monologue, right? Like later on, it's going to be called being cheerleader and champion, right? I wrote it down for myself so I don't forget. All right, let me. I appreciate that too, right? Let me go to Dr. Givan. Hey, Doc, are you in the Central Time Zone, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
I'm gonna make sure because that's 12 in my time. I was like, oh my gosh, you got to go.
No, you're good. You're good.
Good. You know, I want to start by putting this book on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, this book, y'all, is centering our voices. So if you've seen some people in the comments and they keep writing COV, they're referencing this. Centering Our Voices, subtitled The Brilliance, Persistence, and Significance of Black Women Educators, right? This is a powerful book. If I counted correctly, there are 23 authors in here.
22.
22. So I counted incorrectly.
Well,
I probably counted you twice.
No, you probably also counted the poet that we had at the very beginning who contributed a poem.
That's what it is. That's
yes.
I started from the top in the table of contents. Yeah. So this is a powerful book, and the three guests that I have on today are in it. But Dr. Givan is the brainchild behind it. She's the visionary, as she would call herself, behind this book. So what I want you to elaborate that and on that, and I want to put it within this question, Dr. Givan. What was the motivation for this book, and what was the process for becoming a contributor to this book?
Yeah, so I have to give a shout out to Dr. Sean Warner, who was my dissertation chair of Clark Atlanta University. As you stated earlier, centering our voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators is an extension of my research, my dissertation research, and really is looking at the lived experiences of Black women educators. It just serves as that foundation. My dissertation focused on those who are in academia, but because of my dissertation chair, it's very similar to what Coach Jenkins was saying earlier, being able to see to your future. he knew that I wasn't just going to sit on my dissertation, right? He encouraged me not to. Yes, we know the best dissertation is a done dissertation. We're trying to get you to graduate as Dr. Givan, but what are you going to do after that? You've put in so much work and so much research. You've got to do something beyond that. And so one of my best friends, Dr. Kimberly Ellison, actually owns Sparkle Publishing. It is a boutique style publishing company. And I was having a conversation with her that I wanted to extend my research. And I didn't want to just do academia. I wanted to open it up to Black women across education, from P-12 all the way up to those who are consultants, who may be in higher education, just all the areas of education. And so when I really sat down, one of my favorite resources when I was working on my doctorate was actually like an anthology. And so that goal was to just compile an anthology, to have these different voices. And I know that we're going to get into this. But before we came on, you know, it was already highlighted that it's not a monolithic experience between Black women. And a question that you asked me, and I'm sharing my experience, may not be the experience of someone else. Mm-hmm. And so to have this anthology, to compile this book of all of these different voices, to talk about the brilliance, persistence, and significance of what these Black women have gone through, I wanted to see that as a source of inspiration. Presumed Incompetent is the book that I am speaking to. That was one of my favorite resources when I was working on my dissertation. And to be able to bounce around and not have to go chapter by chapter. But today, if I want to read about Dr. Affton Coleman's story, I can sit with her. Tomorrow, if I want to sit with Coach Jenkins, I can sit with her. That is the beauty to me in an anthology. But not only to just celebrate the resilience of Black women educators and our achievements over time and even currently, but also for it to be used as guidance, as you were saying, for those individuals who are here listening to us today. You know, we come to you as transparently as possible to really talk about maybe some of our experiences and the challenges. And hopefully that can help you to navigate where you're going, picking up the baton. Because I'm planning for retirement. I know I only have 24 years, but I'm planning for retirement. So we're passing this on to someone else. And we want to be able to be that extension of their circle, for them to be able to just navigate the continued challenges that are going to happen in education. So picking back up with Sparkle Publishing, it was really planning with that dynamic team with Dr. Kimberly Ellison and how we could get the word out, and being able to utilize social media, to use, these e-blasts, to just do an author call. And what I appreciate about Coach Jenkins and Dr. Coleman and the other Centering Our Voices co-authors is that they trusted the process. I believe that we presented ourselves, in excellence, that being a contributing author means that you are going to be providing not only, your financial agreement, but you're having to put in some time for some of these common places that we will be coming together when we meet online and things of this nature, meeting these deadlines of getting this information together before we launch the book. I'm thankful that they trusted the excellence in us and trusted the vision in me. I hope that I had gone before, following me on social media or going to my website. Hopefully there was something that spoke to these women to say, we can trust that this body of work is not just going to be a one-time. We are consistently looking at opportunities such as sitting here with you today for them to be able to center their voices and elevate their experiences on different platforms at different conferences, and to be able to utilize our anthology to do that. And so to me, it was just very important. I could have written a book myself, it could have just been me, but what's the beauty in that when you're just getting that one voice of being a Black woman educator? I also think that it's very important for us to be able to really shift the narrative that Black women or Black women educators can't come together and work together and put something forth. We're examples of that. And while you're holding the book up, if I must say, we are the winner of 2 international book awards. We were the winner for a nonfiction anthology. And we were also a finalist for Women's Issues, Women's Studies. So I need to get you some stickers to put on your book so that you will have those awards on there. But first and foremost, let me encourage those who are working on a dissertation or have a dissertation, don't just sit on it. I want to encourage you the way Dr. Sean Warner encouraged me to do something with that. Put in your proposals, to conferences. Principal Kafele, I was there at the National Association of Black School Educators with some of our other co-authors. We had a breakout session, very intimate session, to be able to encourage not only Black women educators, but all educators about our journey. Do something with it. I'm putting in a plug for Sparkle Publishing with Dr. Kimberly Ellison. They can help you if you're looking to get your story in print. And so I'm just grateful to be on this journey with them. So many of these Black women educators I had never met. We met virtually. We met asynchronously. I knew Coach Jenkins, but Dr. Coleman and I had never met. And so this project brought us together, and now we're on this journey. We're called the Voices of Legacy, or some people, just call us the COV. But now we're on this journey together as Black women educators, being able to be unapologetic about who we are, not using our stories as a broader, narrative of someone else's stories. Like, no, we're centering our voices. We're talking about Black women and our experiences as educators. And it's powerful. It makes me smile. I'm sure you can see that. It just makes me really smile to know that we came together. We pulled together this body of work. Not only the qualitative pieces in there, but there's some quantitative pieces at the back to be able to show that, data is very important, but to learn more about us as well. So hopefully I answered your question, because I got excited about that one.
No, you did, and we're gonna stay on it to the folks on the first timers on here today, the newbies on here today. When I have an author on, I tend to read a lot of passages live from the book and have my guests respond to some of these passages. So that's what I'm gonna be doing for a little while now, because I got a lot of things I underscored here. So I want to stay with you, Doc, for a minute. Then we're gonna move around. But I want to read this passage to the fam, and then I want you to respond to it. This is just to give you all a sense of what's in here, but also to just add to the conversation. So in other words, we're going to get a little heavier now to the fam out there. After, I'm on page 232, by the way, for anybody out there that might have this book. After the initial round of interviews, this is when you were interviewing, it was decided that another candidate, when you were interviewing for the principalship, it was decided that another candidate and I would move to one-on-one discussions with the superintendent. This might resonate with some of the folks out there too, by the way. However, before that could transpire, one of the teachers on the committee returned to campus and shared with that confidential information that she was part, because I interrupted myself, that she was part of the two people who were the finalists for this position. As a result, a petition was formed. Although it was not 1947, I imagine her walking door to door like Dixie Walker 66 years ago to rally players of the Brooklyn Dodgers against Jackie Robinson. It was passive-aggressive behavior at best. The sentiment was disguised as needing someone from outside the district that could give the campus a fresh start. Trust me, I received the intended message loud and clear. Maybe the magnitude of her action would have been warranted if it was based on legitimate concerns such as unethical behavior or documented history of poor leadership. But I was lauded on that same campus as Teacher of the Year, served as the English Language Arts and Reading Department chair, had been sought out to become the assistant principal for another campus in the district, worked as an adjunct at our local university, and the list goes on. So with that being said, what do you attribute, Doc? What do you attribute to this teacher's actions and to what was the outcome?
Yeah, so you took me back with that one. The campus that I worked on initially as a teacher, starting out with my career, graduating from the University of Central Arkansas, coming back home and working on this campus for about 9 years as a fourth grade teacher. This is the same campus after I had left to be an assistant principal that had a principal position open. So mind you, many of the individuals who were on the interviewing committee had worked with me. Many of these individuals had celebrated me as an assistant principal, working with their grandchildren or their nieces, nephews on another campus. But when it came to think that I would possibly now come back to that same campus and not be lateral to them, but now possibly be the principal, that took on a whole different image. I want to add a little meat to what you read. This campus had gone through several leadership changes. And so that interview that I had was with about 10 people. First time that I've ever interviewed with such a large committee. It was a combination of teachers, parents, district leadership, etc. Because, in their words, they wanted to get it right, wanted to make sure that they were bringing in. So after we had gone through this round of interviews, I was the only internal candidate that was being passed on to the second round. And so obviously sitting in front of the interview committee, like I know the teachers who were there. And lo and behold, I get back to the campus, it may have been a day or two, and I start hearing about all of this friction that's happening over at the other campus after these interviews. And it was because of little old me, because someone had gone back and shared that she's actually being considered to be, our principal. They're going on to round 2. Thankfully, there was another Black woman educator who confronted the situation, and that created, a little tension on the campus. But I think that we all know what this is attributed to. But I'll break it down as it just relates to me. For one, the idea of having someone come back who is an instructional leader. I pride myself in that, and I know that it's very important to you, Principal Kafele. But I say that because when we think about the different aspects of being either an assistant principal or a principal, specifically a principal, a lot of people live in management land. They live in the managerial pieces of it, making sure that the day-to-day is working. However, there are very few people who, and maybe depending on their education or the principal preparation programs or education programs that they went through, very few people still they underestimate how important it is for us to know what's happening in those classrooms and to be able to influence that, to be in and out of those classrooms. I was going to be someone as a campus principal that was going to be very much involved in the planning, not saying taking it over. Obviously, we have our campus leadership team, you have your instructional coaches, or you have your team leads, but to really challenge what it is that we're teaching, to challenge, some of those, as I said earlier, those practices that are kind of outdated when we have people who just want to lecture, they want to go in the file cabinet, they want to pull lessons that they've done for 30 years. We've not evaluated it. We've not looked to see whether or not this is actually effective with our students. I was going to challenge that. That was not wanted. That was not welcomed. It wasn't going to be tolerated. Now, it was fine as long as I was an assistant principal and making this impact somewhere else. But to come back and now she could possibly now be, my principal, be my supervisor, it wasn't warranted. I'm also a Black woman. The individual who went back was a Caucasian female teacher who shared that information. And so I think we all know, what it is. Yeah, it's political, things of that nature. Unfortunately, the superintendent at that time, he told me this when he called me to his office. You just don't deserve to deal with this as your first year as a principal. And there were so many things that I could have said. There, hindsight is 2020. Later, you have people that ask you questions and they're like, well, Taryn, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you do this? God told me, he gave me such a peace, even though it was very frustrating, that this wasn't my battle to fight. Mm-hmm. And I had to offer the right hand of fellowship, and I had to thank him for his time. But the question or the statement that I posed to the superintendent at that time was, well, you don't want me to have to deal with it, but you're going to be supporting someone. But it really speaks to a bigger issue that we're having this type of friction or these type of issues on a campus. But you know what? I accepted it, gave him the right hand of fellowship, and I moved on about my business. I heard you say earlier in your introduction that you don't have to remain in a place.
Right.
Conversations, word spread. Another district was like, okay, so it's almost like she's up for grabs. I got a phone call, If you could just get here, it's going to be a lateral move. If you don't mind coming as an assistant principal, not necessarily with a promise, but this individual was like, you are meant to be in a principal seat and I will get you there, but are you willing to move? Now, that district that I'm talking about was also my home district. I was a student there from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, graduated, came back, and worked in that district for 12 years. So a lot of things that I saw as a student that I didn't really recognize at the moment, but as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is still at play. I saw some of these things when I was a student, but these things are still at play. They were still there. So I speak to those who are listening. Sometimes we get really caught up in loyalty. And it was very, very hard for me to decide to leave a district that this was my home district as a student. And that's also where I came back and worked. And it was hard for my family to see it. But I had to go ahead and I had to move because I deserved to be in a place where I was seen, where I was valued. And one thing that I stated in my chapter in the book, I agreed with him. I did deserve better. I didn't deserve to have to deal with that. However, there still were going to be students and educators on that campus that were going to have to be supported. And he was willing to support the other candidate to make those changes and to make it happen, but he wasn't willing to support me. So I heard all I needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no what could I do? I'm not going to sit here and try to argue the fact who I was, the work that I'd done had spoke for itself. I wasn't going to sit there and argue that. I gave him the right hand of fellowship and I moved on. And I'm so thankful for that because God had another plan for me and my career continued to move forward. But it was one of the lowest points of my career in 24 years to just think about a petition, going around on a campus in 2013, but it happened. And I'm at a point now, Principal Kafele, where I can say thank you.
Yeah.
I can say thank you for it. What the devil meant for evil, God meant it for my good. And he used all of that to move me forward. And it built that persistence and that resilience in me to move forward, to end up being a turnaround principal, and for those things to manifest. It wasn't easy at the time. It was very hard to deal with. It was very hard to accept. But we moved forward. And I'm here, where I am now because of it.
Yes, ma'am. Good stuff. I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things you said before I move on, holding on to loyalty. I just want to reiterate that I've preached that sermon on this platform many times, but since it came up from you, I'm just going to say one more time without the sermon that I know a lot of y'all are dealing with various different kinds of challenges that make life very frustrating, if not discouraging. But I want to remind you, someone who lived that your home district, the district that raised you, that might not be the place for you. I taught where I was born and raised. I led where I was born and raised. But I found the most happiness when I left it, right? When I left it, it went to a neighboring district, right? They touch each other as relative to the border, right? I love being home, but politics set in, and I wanted to stay because it produced me. East Orange, New Jersey, it produced me. But circumstances said you got to leave home, and when I left home, my career it soared, right? Everything about whatever you know about Principal Kafele, it started when I left, right? It doesn't mean that I didn't have success prior to outside of the principalship in terms of what I do as a consultant. But once I left, I went like this, right? That's what I mean. So I know folks want to be loyal to their home environment, but sometimes you got to step out. You got to step away. And the place that really has your name emblazoned on the wall might be somewhere else, right? So just think about that. I'm going to do it again for you. That's how it went. I'm still riding that wave since I went to that other school. I'm going to leave that right there. Listen, y'all, because the people that really know me, they like, yeah, we know what he talking about, right? Listen, I want to ask this question to each of you. I want to hold up this book again, this title, centering our voices, and I'm putting emphasis on this word, voices. So when I was preparing on these long flights all week, and I thought about the three ways that I typically use the word voice. I use the word voice in terms of what we say, right? So whatever it is, I'm using my voice right now, what I'm saying. But then I also thought about in terms of how we say it. So I know that as a speaker or as just one-on-one communication, this is an instrument, and we're using it different ways to convey a point. And sometimes it's not just what we say, but it's the way we say it to convey the message, right? So voice in terms of what we say, but voice in terms of how we say it. But then there's a third way I use the word voice in terms of identifying our purpose. So we use the word voice when we say, am I walking in my voice though? Or we may say, I'm still trying to locate or identify my voice. I haven't found it, so I'm not walking in it yet. I'm kind of just out here wandering. So I tend to use voice that way as well. So with that, I want to throw these questions at you, and I'm gonna start with Dr. Coleman. Let me just get my screen the way I need it to be. There we go. All right. So Dr. Coleman, and I'm gonna ask the three of you these questions. What are the challenges for you? And I'm being very specific here, as a Black woman educator / leader, relative to being able to speak your truth in the workplace, and in other words, being your authentic self. What challenges might you find, and particularly within your skin as a Black woman?
The challenges that I face is making sure that I have intentionality in what I do. That I also have a mindset that I can do what needs to happen, and I have the faith to be able to do it in regards to that, because of the simple fact that when I'm in these different spaces, I have to learn how to move and how to be tactful in the matter of purpose regarding what I'm supposed to do and how it's supposed to make sure that my teachers and my students are able to be successful with whatever it is that I'm trying to do, because I'm the advocate for them.
The advocate, that word advocate, we talk about in the sports world. I don't know if any of the three of you are, well, no, that's not right. That's not right. We, of course, one of you is a sports fan, but I don't know if the other two are. So all right. So Coach Jenkins, you know all about the Mount Rushmore conversation, right? The Mount Rushmore debate in basketball. Who's on your Mount Rushmore, right? So I have a Mount Rushmore of words we use in education, but it's not consistent. Just like the Mount Rushmore in sports, like you could have Tim Duncan on your Mount Rushmore one day, but then you replace them with Karl Malone, right? Or something like that. So it's like it varies. So like a lot of times when I'm talking about my four words, my Mount Rushmore of words in education, that word advocate is in my Mount Rushmore. Like that's one of the most important words that I can articulate in education. Are we advocates for our children? Are we advocates for our staff when we're in leadership? Am I fighting for my staff in ways that they don't even know about? Right. So they don't even know, they don't know my battles behind the scenes because of my advocacy. And I never really shared with them what I was doing in those superintendent's office to make their lives easier, that advocacy. Right. So that's one of my words. So I was glad to hear you say it, because it's so important to the work of a leader, right? Good stuff. Let me go the same question with Coach Jenkins. What are your challenges what are the challenges for you as a Black woman educator leader relative to being able to speak your truth in the workplace while being your authentic self?
I haven't had necessarily very many challenges. And the reason I say that is because I think I'm going to show up as who I am, regardless. There are times when I may have not said as much because the time was inappropriate. But I do feel like I have been in spaces with leaders and team members that have allowed me the opportunity to truly be who I am and to advocate for all children. And I think a lot of times when we talk about advocacy, we have to also make sure that we are talking about accountability. Just because I'm advocating for you does not mean I'm not going to hold you accountable. And that goes for adults, that goes for children. And so I tell my kids, I'm going to ride for you. I'm going to help you. Even with parents, same thing. I'm going to advocate for you as well. But that does not mean I'm not going to hold you accountable. But in terms of voice, Principal Kafele, I'm going to be who I am. I feel that there are times when, my voice, I may share when I feel the need and it's appropriate, when I feel that things definitely need to be said or not to be looked over. So I think we have to, keep those things in mind. But I also am very comfortable in what I bring to the table. And in as far as my perspective, as far as my life experiences, and as far as my heart to help. So I always want to, anything that I share and add, it's from a heart of wanting to help and like a true servant leader. And so I think that's important. So I really can't say that I've had very many challenges. If there are any, it would be probably internal, where I have probably didn't share or said something where I should have or could have. But I believe that I've been given the opportunity and space and leaders who are receptive and willing to hear the things that I have to say. I think if there are any challenges, it's me being reluctant at any point, maybe holding back. So I have looked in the mirror at times and had to kind of check myself in those times.
I love it. Let me go to Dr. I still got Givan in my head, man. I am struggling. Givan, it's been like 2 years. Every time I see you on social media, right? When I saw you in NAPSI, in my head, it was Givan, right? So please forgive me, right? So but same. Do I need to read it again, or you got it?
I'm good. I'm good. I probably am going to take a different slant with the question, but I will just say this: for me, speaking up and having a voice, it has never been an issue. I probably was born talking, but one of the things that I've had to challenge myself is to make sure that what I am saying is going to be impactful to what we're talking about. A lot of times I can start and I'll end up going left. I've had to make sure that when I do use my voice, that it is rooted in what is going to be a solution for the situation, or posing questions that are going to cause people to look for the solutions for the situation. But one of the challenges that I came up against specifically as a turnaround principal in using my voice, or for people asking me to speak, it was almost as if I was seen as like the diversity voice, or the voice for an entire community, for an entire race of people. And I know a lot of times we look at the research and we look at being, the token. And that was one of the challenges that I had, was to challenge other people to say, I want you to get to know other people of color or other Black educators on this campus or within this district. I don't speak for everyone. As I stated earlier, all of our experiences are not going to be the same. It's not monolithic. But it was as if, especially when I was the first assistant principal back in my home district, the campus that I was an assistant principal, I was the first there. It had not had that position before. It was almost as if I was being asked to just speak on the Black experience. And so having to push people to come out of their own comfort zone, or to push past their biases, and to understand you've got to get to know this staff, get to know each individual person for themselves. They come with their own unique set of challenges and experiences and stories. I can't speak for everyone. And so that was one of the biggest issues for me, and continues to be, is to make sure that I'm challenging others to see that, we don't all speak for one person. Oh, if I have, this African-American person on the panel, then this individual is going to come and that's going to be the voice of the community. In so many situations, yeah, there's some of my experiences that have overlapped with other Black women educators or other Black educators, but I am not the voice for everyone. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we are using platforms like yours to where we get a variety of those from diverse locations and all over. And I know there's parallels, I know there's overlaps, but I wanted to take a different slant with that because that was one of the biggest challenges of using my voice, was not to be just seen as the token Black educator.
You know, everything you said reminded me. Back in 2008, while I was still a principal, I wrote a book called Motivating Black Males to Achieve in School and in Life. I now hate the title. But in that space of time, I thought it was a great title. I evolved into wishing it was motivating, educating, and empowering the Black male learner. But again, we're talking 2008, and that was my thinking back in that time. But anyway, I'm saying that to say this: that book opened up a zillion doors for me, and it's, while I'm a principal, folks were inviting me for enough engagements that I could have left, but I wasn't ready to leave. But once I got out there, then I'm still getting just this multiplicity of invitations to talk about black boys. But I felt like I was getting trapped into a pigeonhole of that's all I can do. So I had to go to the publisher and say, wait a minute, I want to write this because this speaks more to who I am, closing the attitude gap, right? And this is the biggest selling book I've ever written. But I needed something to show that I'm not just the black males guy. I still want to address that because it's still a challenge in a lot of places in terms of folks that don't know how to make the connections with them. No challenge of the boys themselves, but I needed to show the world that there's more to me. So then when the next book came out, it was very different from this. And then each one, no two were comparable to each other, just to show that I'm not locked into one thing, which I think it speaks to that you're not representative of everything about Black women, Black people, etc. You're in your lane doing what it is that you do. And that matters. That matters tremendously. Let me go to this next one, and I'll go right to Dr. Coleman. What are the challenges for you as a Black woman educator leader relative to how you use your voice in the workplace, relative to tone, intonation, modulation? And I want to preface this before you jump in here. There's this stereotype in the world. You all know this. And I would think that most of our fam also are aware of this, that it's difficult to work with Black women in leadership. There's all sorts of names that people apply to you, and insulting names, I should say, and all that kind of thing. And therefore, folks having to be very conscious of the way they use their voice as opposed to what they say because of these stereotypes. And I do, just for clarity, want to say that these stereotypes are not just coming from non-Black women. Sometimes they're coming from other Black women, right? Or they're coming from Black men. They're coming from just different people in terms of this stereotype of being able to work under the leadership of a Black woman, right? So therefore, that's the motivation behind the question in terms of whatever challenge there may be in how I'm using my instrument, not what I'm saying, but how I'm using it in terms of being able to ensure that I'm connecting with people who may be intimidated by me, right? Talk to us about that in terms of your thoughts.
My thoughts on that are actually not me speaking, but through action. Through making sure that the perception that I give comes across in what I want to convey in the message that I'm trying to give to my teachers, so they can know that even though I am a Black woman, that I do have the knowledge, but I'm also not demeaning or demarginalizing them in any manner, and that I'm for them and not against them. Because a lot of the educators that I have come across at times have seemed to think that because I am a Black woman or because I have a doctorate degree, that I'm going to be higher than thou or different things of that nature. And sometimes I even tell them, take the title off, I'm still a person. I'm still just like you. We're in this together. And so that's how I use my voice in that manner to bring down the stress levels of my teachers, of my students, and even of those that are in the same types of positions as me, to where we can come together, as one, to where we can, meet the ultimate goal of what we want to see our campus to be at the end of the day, and what we want our students to be. So that's how I definitely use my voice, because that is a challenge when it comes off as being a Black woman and who is a leader.
Yeah. Even something like, I'm a public speaker, obviously, and I'm conscious of that with the various different audiences that I speak to, because I know what my voice sounds like. I was in the security line just yesterday, in wherever I was in Cleveland, and one of the agents said something to me, and in the clear line. So the woman in front of me turned around, and she said, "Oh, I thought Barry White was behind me." Right. And I get that all the time. It's 24/7. Right. There's no day of my life that I don't get some kind of reaction to my voice. Right. But in conversation or in public speaking, I got to be conscious of it, because I don't want people to get caught up into the voice and miss the message, whether the voice is positive for them or the voice is overwhelming for them, whatever it is. Right. I got to read the room and all that kind of thing, and make sure that my voice quality is what I need it to be, that they ultimately hear the message, right? That's just critically important. Let me go to Coach Jenkins with the same question. Do I need to reread it, or are you good?
No, I'm good, I believe. For me, Principal Kafele, it's more, I speak to people how I want them to speak to me.
Yeah.
My tone is pretty even keel. I as an athlete, I was very loud. As a coach, I was very loud. So this is probably the most, I guess, in a sense, quiet in a sense, or just kind of toned down I've ever had to be. There are times I have to be loud in the hallway, with kids, with students. But for me, when I'm having conversations with anyone, more than anything, I want them to know that I'm listening to them. So a lot of times I am quiet in a sense, but when I do speak, I speak to people how I want them to speak to me, with empathy. I listen, to what they're saying. And for me, I feel like as the leader, I determine the dynamics of the conversation. Even if somebody is up here, my tone, I'm not going to allow it to go up there, because there's not going to be any productivity in the conversation. So for me, I try to maintain a very level tone, for the simple fact that we want the conversation, the discussion, to be productive. And so for me, whether I'm dealing with parents, whether I'm dealing with colleagues, I really make a conscious effort to make sure that my communication is clear. Like you said, I don't want the message to be missed, adding any different type of flavors, because, we can add flavors if it's needed. But I just really have I speak to people how I want them to speak to me. Sometimes I have a parent that may come in on 10, but because I'm listening, I'm not raising my voice, I'm not matching that energy, it allows them to understand and know that, okay, I don't have to behave that way. I don't have to come in that way. And so I really try to give that respect, in every manner possible. But I think I've done enough yelling in my life, or enough, having certain tones. But for me, for the most part, because it allows me to remain at peace, and how I move and how I want my day to move, I try to make sure that I maintain a certain level, not just for the other person, but also for myself. I think that's important, how I, move throughout the day. When I'm talking to students, my intonation is very, very cool, calm, and collected in a sense, just because I think that's so important.
Yeah, I love it. And it is. I appreciate that. Dr. Givan, same question.
Yeah. What has shaped my approach really came from the model that I had to have as a principal, as a turnaround principal. And I'm not saying that I didn't see it or feel the need to really move with it as a teacher or even an assistant principal. But when I became the principal of a turnaround campus, the culture for a lot of the educators there was, in order to get the students' attention, you needed to be yelling and screaming. And so I had to model that it could still be effective, even if we were not yelling and screaming down the hallway. And that has really shaped my approach. Now, I know we discuss code switching, as a culture, or even just as Black women. And I enjoyed my staff, and I try to also, of course, enjoy the students that I work with. And I want them to see me as a person. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sorority sister. I have experiences in our community. But the biggest piece that was a focus of mine was to make sure that I spoke to these students with respect.
Yeah.
And so even though you may be on 10, I needed to be a model for other educators who maybe just didn't want to know or hadn't been trained on how to have an interaction with a student to be able to de-escalate the situation or whatever the case may be. And so for some of us, we can probably relate that the closer you can get to me, I can really get you, but nobody has to hear anything that I'm saying.
Yeah.
And people would say, wow, you could get a student together and we didn't hear you. It is because the proximity to me was important as well. And I think we underestimate that. When I get a little closer to students, I bring them into that personal space, not trying to be threatening to them and not disrespectful to them. But I also had to teach my students that sometimes there's an expectation that this is how we must talk to each other in order for us to get our points across. And I need you to help me debunk that narrative. Now, being loud and proud doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, because I'm one of those that like to have a good time and my voice naturally carries. And I've always had that as a part of when I speak. But I do feel that it's situational as well. There are times as a Black woman, especially in leadership, where I've had to be authoritative, where I've had someone in my office who was challenging, me, where I had to come across, and I still spoke, of course, with that reverence and that intelligence that sometimes they don't expect for you to have. But there are times where I had to be authoritative and I had to say what I meant, and I meant what I said. But it didn't mean that everyone outside of my office could hear that. But I do believe that it's situational. But for me, what drove it was I have people who are looking to me to be a model of how I interact with the staff and how I specifically interact with these students, that at the beginning of our time, I mentioned that many feel like, are not able to, or they can't. So let me see how she approaches it. And I've even had people to say, well, I was expecting you to go into the room yelling and screaming and cussing too. And you walked in there. But it was also the relationships that I started to build with my students, to where my voice didn't have to be on as much. My nonverbal could say it all. I could walk in, I could canvas the room, I could look, and they knew what I was speaking without me having to say a word. Yeah. I think that it's all in those relationships, and it's very situational. But I saw someone in the comments mention about, it's kind of sad that we have to be so hyper aware, and we're always evaluating how we're coming across. Yeah. And it can be exhausting. It can really be exhausting. But for me, I wanted to model that our children, you can get through to our children, you can get through to all children without having to be heard all the way down the hallway. Now, I understand we have moments where it's emotional, and as a teacher, you've planned and you're trying to get these kids to listen and pay attention, and they're all over the place, and you feel like you need to elevate your voice. But culturally, a lot of people feel like that's all our children respond to. And that is not always the truth.
That's right. That's right.
And so we have to model that in the way that we interact. And I even had students who would tell me that they would watch how the adults spoke to each other. And then it's like, well, you're asking one thing of us, but yet you all are not an example of what you're asking of us. And so we really have to think about all of that in our approach.
Listen, that's powerful. And, I think about the only year I yelled was my first year, because I didn't know better. And then after that, I don't think any student ever heard me yell again, except if I'm yelling at the basketball court, during the varsity game. You know what I'm saying? That's outside of that. because there was no need. It's just being us and getting our point across in the ways that we know best how to do so. But here's the thing: it's your time. It's 7 minutes away from quit time. So here's what I'm gonna do. It's 2 hours. We're 2 hours in anyway. I'm not halfway through the agenda yet. I'm not even halfway there. So we're going to definitely schedule a part 2. I'll just go through Doc, and then she'll reach through to the other Doc and Coach, and then we'll go that way. But here's what I want to ask you: Can we close the right way, or do you have to make a hard stop?
We can close the right way. Absolutely.
Let's do this. I want to go to what I call my rapid fire BAM. See, BAM is my hashtag BAM. So that's why the word BAM. My rapid fire BAM questions, right? And what it is, I'm gonna give you these. If you've never seen the platform before, I'm gonna give you these 21 questions, 7 each, and you only get one sentence or one word. They're rapid fire, right? If you find yourself inserting a comma, then I'm gonna say right, and that means that you've gone too long with it, right? So here's another one of my sisters in education, Jamila Hudkirk, and she said, yeah, let's do that part 2, right? So and she's big time down in Georgia. Y'all look her up. But anyway, here we go. I'm gonna start with Dr. Givan. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
It needs improvement.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
It's possible.
Does hang on, Seth, want to move that. Does Dr. Taryn, it is Taryn, right?
It is Taryn. I didn't know if you wanted me to keep going or if we were bouncing around. So I'm sorry.
No, this is all you.
Okay.
For the first 7, does Dr. Taryn Givan's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Absolutely.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
It would be the same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Ancestry.
What fires you up particularly within the work that you do?
Those aha moments.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Unnecessary challenges.
Dr. Coleman, what has been your greatest victory in your work thus far?
The progress of my students.
What was your greatest mistake in your work thus far?
At first, not putting the people before the work.
What has been your greatest challenge in your work?
Having tunnel vision.
Are you proud of your first year as assistant principal?
Absolutely.
Are you an aspiring principal?
Yes.
Who inspires you in your work?
My great uncle.
What book do you recommend our fam out there read this afternoon?
Centering Our Voices.
There you go. There you go. Coach Jenkins, what do you want to accomplish that you have not accomplished yet?
Possibly a PhD.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally?
No.
Is there another gear to your leadership, or are you at peak performance now?
No, absolutely not.
What would you say to an AP out there who continues to face closed doors to the principalship?
Keep moving, keep going, and I don't wait. You may have to go to grow.
I love it. I love it. What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership passion?
Pick up that mirror and
what would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership confidence?
Tap into your network, your resources, and have them pour into you.
If Coach Tyisha Jenkins was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Overcomer.
If Dr. Taryn Givan was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
The definition would be she refuses to give up and she refuses to give in.
And if Dr. Affton Coleman was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
My definition would be innovation, humbleness, humility, and dignity.
Love it, love it. Listen, before you run, Doc, to the fam out there, the fam already started. Give us those emojis, y'all. If today's session resonated with you, and we got a long way to go. We didn't even get halfway through. But if today's session resonated with you, if you found some nuggets in there, if you found something that you could use in your leadership, if it was just good stuff for you, give us your favorite emojis. Just put them on the screen. Keep them coming. I see them. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Let me get my emoji. Mine is in the form of a baseball bat. I'm wearing my Hank Aaron Indianapolis Clowns jersey from the Negro League. So Hank Aaron was known as Hammerin' Hank. So he was hitting a lot of home runs, a lot of grand slams. So y'all hit it out the park every time you came to the plate. 4 runs in, bases loaded. Appreciate you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Doc Givan, just before you run, let them know how they can reach you, how they can follow you on social media, how they can get a hold of the book. Just give them your stuff and then run on and do what you got to do this afternoon.
Yes. So my website is www.divergenteducationalconsulting.com. You can also email me at divergenteducationalconsulting@gmail.com. I know that we have this conversation that's happening right now about Amazon. Our book is on Amazon. However, you can also order our book from my website. And I know our other co-authors will speak on how you can get it from them. If you want an autographed copy, go to www.divergenteducationalconsulting.com and go to that publications tab, and you can order the book from me. I'll sign it and get it into the mail to you. I'm just so grateful for this platform, Principal Kafele. I would not log off of here without thanking you for being such a trailblazer in the field of education. I don't know if you remember this or not, but when I did a cohort for our first year principals and assistant principals, you willingly came into a Zoom space with those individuals, and so many of them could not believe that they were sharing such an intimate space with you. They had seen you on the public platform, but they were like, wow, he's in our Zoom space. And so I just want to thank you for what you do, who you are, and just in case people don't tell you that enough.
Go ahead. I'm saying I'm blessed, man, that somebody would feel that way about moi, right? So I appreciate that. I know you have to go. Dr. Givan, folks had a loss, an aunt, and she's gonna make it to a funeral, but to a homecoming, but she wanted to be here this morning, and here she is. So I know you got to go. Y'all two stay with me for a minute, and we'll see you soon. I'll be in touch so that we can schedule the next date.
Absolutely. And if it's okay, I would like to speak my aunt's name.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Virginia Rose Jameson. And the reason that I wanted to honor her this morning by still being online, my aunt was in education. She was a paraprofessional for almost 30 years. And she would have logged in this morning. She would have been one of our supporters. She was a supporter of centering our voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. But I stand on the shoulders of women and individuals such as her. And so I know for some, it's like, oh, that's a lot for you. But this is how I honor the legacy in my family. This is how I honor those Black women who sacrificed in my family or extended community to provide the space for me to be here today. And so I wanted to honor her. We are definitely going to go and have a celebration, but I want my family and my friends to know that I am here today because of Black women, such as my aunt, Virginia Rose Jameson. So thank you for still having me. I am going to log off. To Dr. Coleman, to Coach Jenkins, I'm so very proud of you all. Keep the conversation going, and we'll connect again soon.
Good stuff. See you soon. All right. Hey, let me say to the two of you, I appreciate y'all. This was strong. This was dynamite. This was great stuff, and I'm glad I met you, and I'm glad I had an opportunity to read your stories in this very powerful book that I'm gonna put up again. I know you all are in the class, in the school as leaders and so forth, but maybe you know this already, or maybe you needed me to tell you right now. There's a consultant in you, right? There's a speaker in you. And so therefore, there may be someone on here that may reach out to you that wants you to come in and do a little something at their school. So let them know, Dr. Coleman, how can they follow you? How can they book you? and and reach out to you, give them that information.
Yes, definitely. They can reach out to me through my email at aftoncoleman1@gmail.com. Also through my LinkedIn with Dr. Affton Coleman, as well as Facebook, Dr. Affton Coleman as well.
So
those are the three.
Wish I had that before when I was doing all the ads, so I could have been tagging you. But let your networks know that we were here and just share the video. It's on all.
Most definitely.
Appreciate it. Coach Jenkins, same thing.
Well, again, like Dr. Givan did, Givan, Principal Kafele, I just am so honored, so grateful to be here. It's almost like a dream come true, one of those things in this world of educational leadership that we are in. So I'm thrilled. I really had to hold back tears earlier because this is amazing, and it's a blessing. I can't, if I get started, I am going to get emotional, but it is a tremendous blessing to share this space with you, with the calling that God has put on your life, the lives that you are touching, your story and what you share. And so thank you for being an inspiration to all of us and to so many. And I got to see you in my district for the first time this summer in Cy-Fair ISD. And so grateful that my principal, welcomed the opportunity. And I'm just so thrilled to be here today. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So you can, I'm on Facebook as Tyisha Jenkins. I'm on Instagram as Tyisha Jenkins. Also X as Tyisha Jenkins. My tag is Lady TJ at 220. That's so very old, but my website is www.tyishajenkins.com. And of course, my email address is info@tyishajenkins.com. So if you want to reach out, if you want to connect, I am excited about this opportunity and I'm ready to come back. So can't wait to get that email.
Excellent. Sounds good. So y'all got the contact information. Let me close us out to my two guests. Could you stay on it? So when I go off, stay there so we can talk offline. To my fam out there, appreciate you being here for week 253. Join me next week for 254. This is going to be a little bit different next week. I mean, they all different actually, but this is going to be a little bit different because this is going to be the women. I'm calling this the women of NABC, the women of National Alliance of Black School Educators. So I have former president, just past president, Dr. Nardis King. I have president-elect Dr. Kim McLeod. And then I have just all world does it all, Dr. Geneva Stark, right? So these are three powerhouse women who are important women in the National Alliance of Black School Educators. I always want so many more on the platform, but I keep it at three, and we just do it that way. So tune in next week. We're gonna have a powerful discussion. These are three very seasoned educators, and they're gonna have some stuff. I probably won't even need questions, to be quite frank with you. I can just say, go ahead and say what you got to say, right? Because they've been in it for so long. But join us next week, y'all, for that one. So every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Sean Hurt, Facebook Live, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Then the AP and New Principals Academy, myself at 10:55. And then Sunday night PDP podcast with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Manedo on Sundays at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Once again, the new one, make sure you get yourself a copy if you don't have it, y'all. Instructional leadership is where the rubber meets the road. If you don't have your copy yet, please get it. You can go to Amazon, you can go to ascd.org. But if you go to Amazon, as I say every week, make sure that you, and I'm saying this shamelessly, rate it, right? Rate this book. Give me the 5 stars, though. Shameless plug. Give me the 5 stars because we live in we live in a algorithm generated world, right? So those stars matter. So give me those 5 stars and give me a review. Tell me how you like it. Put it right on Amazon, right? I'm gonna assume that the book was beneficial for you. So just give me a review. Don't just buy the book and like it and then you move on. Give me them 5 stars, because I want to make sure that as many administrators in America, there are over 300,000. I want to make sure that they get their hands on this book. That's how much I believe in this book, right? So get yourself a copy, and then if you come to the Institute in Raleigh, July 15 and 16, you get a copy anyway, right? So then you buy a copy, then you give it to somebody who could benefit from it. Make sure that you join me this week, ASCD webinar, March 4th at 1 o'clock Eastern, live, 1 hour webinar. And guess what the topic will be? What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise, right? We're not going to cover the whole book. We cover a few slides, that's all. But join me, unless they're going to interview me. I don't know how they got that set up, but join me live. If you can't join me live because you're in the middle of school, then you can watch the recording. But a lot of people do watch the webinars live. They just tell the principal, or if they are the principal, they'll tell the AP, whatever it is, I'm going to be in my office for an hour, call me if you need me. And they go on and take some good notes of the webinar. Make sure you subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. We got 23,200, maybe 300 now, because I know it was right near the cusp, but 23,200 subscribers. That's a good number. I'm pleased, but there are over 300,000 administrators in America, right? So we still got a long way to go. So make sure that you subscribe. Don't just go to the channel and watch. And I got to say this to y'all. Sean Hurt mentioned this morning that we're in interview season, and I'm well aware of that as well, because with YouTube in the back channel, it gives you the your top 10 most viewed videos every day. And you know what my top videos viewed every day are right now in this season? My interview videos. So the videos that I made back in 2017 are watched more than any of the 300 videos on the YouTube, on that particular YouTube channel. I have several YouTube channels, but that particular channel, because it's that season. So if you're not aware of the videos, one of them is viral. It's called Thoughts to Consider for the Assistant Principal Job Interview. But also on that channel is Thoughts to Consider for the Principal Interview, right? So all you got to do is go to the YouTube channel, AP New Principals Academy, scroll down and find it. It's right there under the playlist, and take a look. I know definitively that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of administrators who are in those roles in America right now in real time because they watch the videos. How do I know? Because facetiously, I say at the end of the video, when you get the job, you better let me know and thank me. And I've gotten that many thank yous over the years since 2017, a zillion of them. Just people stopping me all over the place, all over the country, or sending me notifications or notices that I got the job, Principal Kafele, I just want to thank you. Or they got the job and then they invited me to come to their school and speak to their staff, right? So either way, I know that the number is humongous of people who watch those interview videos and now they have the job, right? So watch the videos if you're someone who's applying for either principalship or the AP position, and maybe this will facilitate the process of you becoming that next leader. I'm almost done. Make sure that you go to visit principalkafele.com for additional resources. And finally, as I always say, 252 times now, 253 times, your diet. Make sure that you're taking care of you. Your exercise, make sure you're getting it in, right? And your virus precautions. There's a lot out here, baby. There's a lot out here. So make sure that you're eating right, because you can't leave. If you don't take care of this, you're not going to be in there to do this work, right? So eat right. I know you're going to cheat sometime. I do, right? So I get it. So, but don't let the cheating part be the norm. Right. So every now and then you might eat them chips, right? Every now and then you might have that fried chicken. I get it. Right. But make sure that what dominates is good, healthy eating. Then get your exercise in, your cardio work in particular. I do not love doing them 2 to 3 miles most days of the week. I don't love it. I hate it. But it's something that I have to do. Right. Particularly because I'm a heart attack victim. Right. And particularly because I have type 2 diabetes. That exercise is more so beneficial than any medicine that a doctor could give me for my diabetes, because as long as I put the miles in, it's going to stabilize my blood glucose numbers, right? I'm on medication now because of my flight schedule, but there was a time that I was scared because of the heart attack and the type 2 that came with it, that I was so disciplined. I'd be in the hotel fitness room at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. I won't do that now. I say, doc, give me the medication. But back then when I had the heart attack, which was 10 years ago, I was so scared that it happened. I'd go to the fitness room and I'll be on the treadmill midnight. I'll be on the treadmill 1 o'clock. I'll be on the treadmill 2 o'clock, knowing that I got to be at the venue at 8 o'clock, right, to do a 6-hour presentation. So the docs were amazed, like, wow, you're at 6.0. You are disciplined. You don't need any no insulin, no medication, no metformin, none of that stuff, right? But now I need it, not because my numbers are sky high, because I still get the exercise in, but I'm not doing it every day, right? So whatever you got to do, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And Dr. Houston, yeah, I was at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the treadmill for an hour, right? Or 45 minutes. But you ain't gonna catch me in there now. You know, that was the hotel fitness room. You ain't gonna catch me in there now. No 2 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock. None of that. I'll take the pill, right? So with that being said, y'all stay on. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week, same time. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet as we do it. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Now cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I'll see y'all next Saturday. Have a great week and stay off of cable news.